Alrighty, what is going on, guys? Aldo here. Wanted to give you an update on Bitcoin in the crypto markets. Wanted to also show you something interesting that I discovered on the S&P 500 that not a lot of people are talking about. It's an interesting, macro kind of analysis thing. And I wanted to also show you, did a Bitcoin long yesterday in the VIP Discord, did really, really well. On that one, also had the Cardano short that I have a little bit left in that did well as well. So if you guys are interested in Discord with this and a lot of exclusive TA, link in description below. We're also doing a meeting for all the like a group chat on Zoom with me, and all the VIP members are welcome. It'll be at Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're interested, link down below. Check it out. Me and 3 other pro analysts. Really, really great community. So yeah, basically the first thing, that I've been looking at, on Bitcoin, let's just look at the macro a little bit. 2 week, some gap to our size starting to come down with the VWAP. Nothing too bad. In terms of money flow, you're still kind of in a good situation here, I think. And I just wanted to quickly look at the just Bitcoin on the all-time history index just to see that 2 week if we did, oops. If we did have kind of gap to our size and what happened. Yeah, so we got the gap to our size. It's kind of similar to over here, I would say, early kind of 2016, with those kind of gap to our size, kind of like right there. So I do think that it's not that much of a cause for concern and we could generally come forward. We may get, similar to early, 2016, maybe a 25% correction. At some point, it does make a lot of sense. Maybe we have a red January, red February, something like that. But macro still generally strong. Monthly money flow is still generally pretty good as well. And it would be interesting if money flow gets to, these highs again at some point in kind of 2025. That would maybe a good place to look to get out maybe. So yeah. And weekly money flow is still decent. So not too much of a cause for concern there. 3-day did confirm a bear div. That could have already played out. We did come down to around 40K. Now you're getting a green dot, confirms in 2 days for that. Money flow trying to come back up here. So far that looks good. A lot could kind of happen in the next 2 days, though. We'll see if that confirms. 2-day money flow is still decent, but if this starts to come down, you get a red dot, that's where it looks more bearish. Same thing with the daily. If you get that trigger wave to the downside, that would be somewhat of a cause for concern. But as of right now, nothing's looking too bad. This 12-hour could be one of those things you come into the red and then you come right back into the green, you come up higher. If we do get up and hold, 45.7, make a higher high from this area, I do think there's a good shot you could get up to 48K, which is going to be a huge area. Green dot in the 6-hour. I believe there's also one in the 8-hour. Money flow generally coming up. Those are looking pretty good. And right now, I think the main thing we need to do is try to hold this spiral line, hold 44K, red dot right there, money flow coming out on your hourly. That's not looking the best. Also some bear divs on these lower time frames, such as the 30. They're not looking too good. However, you already kind of came down, so maybe it's played out and we bounce around the area we are at right now. We could just bounce, above here. So that's what we got to pay attention to. We'll definitely have to see what happens. How's it on the really low time frames? Coming up a little bit on the 1 minute. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on to Ethereum right now, very similar, in a very similar ballpark. Some of the larger time frames are a little bit concerning. Bear div on the 3-day, stuff of that nature. And money flow kind of coming up right there. And you're kind of coming up with the trigger wave. Trigger wave kind of forming on the 12-hour. So you might come up a little bit more. And if we could hold these general areas, then you may pump up to, 2380, something of that nature. I would kind of guess similar to Bitcoin on the hourly right there. You may come down, retest this area. As long as you could hold this line right here, I think you should be more in the bull camp. As long as you could hold that, then hopefully that'll be what this 20-minute kind of bear div turns into, just a correction down to there, and then you could continue. So yeah, it kind of looks decent overall still. Funding rates are not, increasingly bad. Yeah, I think we scared off enough people. No one's trying to go crazy long right now, which is a good sign, which kind of makes me think we could come higher potentially. ETH versus Bitcoin right now is hitting a pretty big point. this area, you're either probably going to eventually break up or break down. Reverse head and shoulders, I would guess you could break up here. I like how a lot of stuff is looking. You got the blood diamond in the 2-day, but we'll see what happens with that. It could be, it may not play out too bearishly this time because you're getting bull divs and other things in lower time frames. Weekly, you confirmed a bull div right there. Money flow real deep on the weekly and the 2-week as well. So that could be what we're looking for here. You may get a green dot in the monthly in a couple months. So I do think ETH can start to outperform Bitcoin again. What I do think may be able to outperform ETH for a little bit is Matic. Well, it could take a little bit of time for this to happen, but I think eventually on Matic, you're going to come back up higher to this area. I think you might want to bounce where we are right now. This is ETH versus Matic, so bounce here. I think Matic's going to do very well over the next 6 to 12 months. And if we look at, let's just look at Matic in general just a little bit here. Matic on its own corrected down. This was a nice kind of, 20%, 30% correction, probably to the bottom there, 27%. For a bull run, I mean, it's usually, in the halving year and the bull run year, usually corrections like that are always buy the dip opportunities. So that's a pretty good point. We could also draw this kind of trend line on Matic here. If you hit off there, then you're headed forward. But 2-day bear div, 3-day bear div, that's your cause for concern. We'll see, how those play out. So yeah. And then if we look at, let's look at Solana quickly. I mean, that's one's been popular for obvious reasons. Trigger waves forming, things of that nature forming. There's a decent shot you could come back up to like 117. If you could break above 117, your next area is going to be 140. I would kind of guess this would take more time to play out, but who knows? Some of these things do shock us. Big moves happen quickly, so we'll see. Trigger wave right there looks pretty good overall, especially if this can confirm in 3 hours and 40 minutes. So that's the main thing I'm looking at on this right now. For a potential trade setup, I do have a long on Ethereum if you guys are interested. Link down below for the Discord. You probably could get a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio going up here. We'll see how that kind of plays out. I do think, for a stop loss, definitely at least below kind of these wicks for that kind of area. I mean, I know some people try to trade breakouts. Everybody's got their own way to do it. For altcoins, I've been having a lot of success going 1-to-1 risk-reward ratios and winning a lot of the trades. So, yeah. The last thing I want to show you guys has to do with the S&P 500. And this was an interesting thing. No one's... I know a lot of people have noticed this probably, but no one talks about it too much. And it's basically a theory that you have 20 years, 20 years of basically not too many bear markets in the S&P 500, and you go up a lot. So this was about, from 1949 to, 1969, basically 1950 and 1970, came up about, 600 something percent over, that 20-year period. And then you had a bad decade, a very flat, bearish decade, with one bottom there and then the true bottom, later. And then the next kind of 20-year period was, incredible, obviously, from 1980 to essentially 2000. That's a 12x for S&P 500, just absolutely insane. And then another bad decade from 2000 to 2010, first bottom here. First bottom around 2002, second bottom 2009. So about, 7 years later, I guess you could argue 03 and then 09, 6 years later. This one was 70 to 74, 4 or 5 years later. So those two kind of bottoms. And then you have, essentially, if we do repeat this pattern, a very good kind of 20-year period. Maybe you could get up to, 700-800%. If you get up to 8,000, you follow this kind of trend line for the S&P 500. And then 2030 is being kind of a bad year. So a bad area. So if you repeat this kind of pattern, from the top there, then you're looking at, the 30s just being a very flat, bad, generally bad decade, maybe eventually coming back down to, coming up to 8,000, 9,000 at one point, and then coming back all the way down to 4,000, 5,000. That could be, if history kind of repeats here, that could be the theory for the S&P 500. And I would kind of guess that because the 100-year anniversary of the Great Depression is going to be 2029. It was 1929 that the big Great Depression crash happened. So we're approaching that 100-year area. It's too obvious for 2029 to be that year, I think. I think it would be later. It'd probably be early 2030s. But yeah, I generally think that, let's presume, I don't know, say Trump gets back in, same as his 4 years, economy still kind of does well. S&P 500 number go up. next 4 years, then towards the end of, after he's out in 2028, then things kind of level off and then eventually kind of come down. And I think crypto kind of could follow that for the most part if you really look at the macro there. So yeah, guys, that's all I got right now. If you guys are interested in Discord, link down below. If you guys are interested in trading, check out FAIRDESK. We give away $100 every week with the giveaway only with my link. Same with MEXC, we're doing a trading competition also. You can zero limit fees with my link down below. BitMart and Zoomex are great as well. All the links down below if you guys are interested. All right, guys, have a good one. Goodbye.